Waking up as the doormat trophy husband in a cliché melodrama? No thanks. I'm done. I am tired. Faced with the Ice Queen CEO's divorce papers, I accepted with pleasure. My only goal now was to take the severance package, retire early, and live the life of a total slacker. But she didn't know that I knew the future. While she would soon be drowning in business crises, I would quietly rise to the top of the world. Only then would she realize what she lost and come crying for me to return. Sign it. $5 million. From this moment on, we owe each other nothing. In the freezing, cold executive office, Victoria Sterling slid a document across the desk toward me. Her voice was just like her personality, devoid of warmth. My name is Jack Miller. An hour ago, I was an overworked corporate drone who died of a heart attack in a rental apartment. Now, I've become the cannon fodder son-in-law of the same name in a trashy urban novel. My wife is the woman in front of me, known as the Queen of Wall Street, CEO Victoria Sterling. In the original book, this character loved Victoria to the point of madness. Faced with this divorce agreement, he chose to beg and plead, eventually meeting a miserable end as a stepping stone for the true protagonist's success. But I'm not him. I spent my previous life grinding for 30 years, and all I got was a VIP card to the ICU. God gave me a second chance, and it certainly wasn't so I could be a doormat again. Coasting through life, that's the only option. I picked up the pen without hesitation. The corner of Victoria's mouth curled into a predicted sneer. She probably thought I was about to stage some pathetic emotional scene. Wait, I said. She immediately looked impatient, crossing her arms and leaning back in her leather chair, adopting a posture that said, I'm just watching your performance. $5 million is too low. I looked at her with sincere eyes. For 3 years, I did your laundry, cooked your meals, and cleaned the villa. Even if I don't get credit for the results, I should get credit for the labor. When you had stomach cramps at midnight, I ran 3 blocks to buy you medicine. When you had a fever in the rain, I stayed up all night watching over you. Mental anguish, lost wages, the loss of my youth. Add it all up, and the price should at least double, right? Victoria froze. For the first time, an emotion called shock appeared in her calm, deep eyes. She had imagined 100 reactions, crying, begging, even kneeling, but she never imagined I would haggle with her like we were closing a business deal. 10 million. Her voice carried a trace of absurdity. 10 million. I signed immediately, and I vanished instantly. My tone was ironclad. The office fell into a dead silence. The female assistant behind Victoria opened her mouth to speak, but was silenced by a sharp glance from her boss. Victoria scrutinized me again, as if meeting me for the first time. After a long pause, she squeezed 2 words through her teeth. Deal. She probably felt that paying $10 million to buy off a nuisance like me was a bargain. The assistant quickly drafted a new agreement. I signed my name with a flourish, tossed the pen, and stood up. My movements were fluid, without a hint of reluctance. Pleasure doing business, Ms. Sterling. I extended my hand. Victoria looked at my hand, her frown deepening. She didn't shake it. Instead, she stared at me coldly. The money will be wired to your account immediately. Get out. You got it. I retracted my hand smoothly and turned to leave. At the door, I paused, looking back with a smile. By the way, Ms. Sterling, a friendly tip from your ex-husband. Don't touch that land in the West Harbor District. You'll regret it. With that, I opened the door and left casually, leaving Victoria and her assistant staring in shock. Walking out of that oppressive skyscraper, I took a deep breath of the exhaust-filled downtown air. It smelled better than the expensive fragrance inside. I couldn't help but laugh out loud on the street corner. Freedom. It felt good. Victoria thought I was pretending to be calm to save face. She had no idea I was already calculating how to spend this $10 million. Buy a small storefront, open a grill joint, sleep until I wake up naturally every day, and count money until my hands cramp at night. The dream life. Here I come. My phone buzzed. Bank notification. $10 million received. Victoria's efficiency was as high as ever. The first thing I did wasn't to look for an apartment, but to rush into a convenience store. Hey, give me a Mega Millions ticket. Quick pick. And put a 50 times multiplier on it. I clearly remembered that in the original book, today was the day a single lottery ticket would win a massive jackpot of $200 million. And the lucky winner was the book's true protagonist, a business prodigy who had just returned from overseas. He used this money as seed capital to start his own company, eventually becoming Victoria's strongest rival and her final romantic partner. Sorry, buddy. I'm hijacking your first pot of gold. The clerk looked at me like I was an idiot, but printed the ticket efficiently. I stuffed that thin piece of paper into my pocket, feeling like I was carrying a bright future. Next, finding a place to settle down. I didn't go to the city center. Instead, I took a bus, bumping along to the old industrial district in Brooklyn. This was an area slated for redevelopment. In the book, Victoria's company missed out on this gold mine, allowing the protagonist to pick it up cheap and make a name for himself. On a street full of life and food stalls, I spotted a small storefront for lease. Good location, cheap rent. The landlady was an enthusiastic older woman. Seeing I was alone, she kept trying to set me up on dates. I smiled and declined, signing the contract decisively and paying 3 years of rent up front. By the time everything was sorted, the sky was turning dark. I found a roadside food truck and ordered a greasy burger and a beer. The steaming burger paired with the ice-cold beer made me sweat, but I felt incredibly comfortable. This was living. In Sterling's cold villa, I had eaten rigid nutritional meals for 3 years until my taste buds almost died. "Sir, your order." A familiar voice sounded above my head. I looked up and froze. Victoria's personal assistant, Chloe, was holding a tray of food, looking at me awkwardly. Behind her, next to a broken-down red Porsche, Victoria stood with her arms crossed, her face cold. The streetlights cast a detached halo around her. Talk about a small world. "Ms. Sterling's car broke down." I asked the obvious, taking a bite of the juicy burger and speaking with my mouth full. Chloe nodded, her expression complex. "Waiting for a tow truck. Didn't expect to run into Mr. Miller here." Her eyes swept over my burger and beer with a hint of pity. To her and Victoria, leaving the Sterling family meant I could only live this kind of destitute life. I didn't care. Instead, I smiled at her. "Want some? This place is pretty good." Chloe looked even more awkward. At that moment, Victoria walked over. She was wearing a sharp white suit and high heels. Every step seemed designed to trample on someone's heart. She looked down at me, at the cheap food in front of me, making no attempt to hide the disdain in her eyes. "Jack, is this the life you wanted?" "Yep." I took a swig of beer and burped. "Free, comfortable, no need to walk on eggshells. It's great." Victoria's brow furrowed into a knot. She had imagined me being miserable after leaving her, but she never expected me to be so at peace. It gave her a strong sense of losing control. "What did you mean about the West Harbor land earlier?" She changed the subject, her voice still chilly. "Literal meaning. I picked up a French fry. New environmental policies are coming out soon. All high pollution projects will be halted. If you invest now, you'll be throwing billions into the water." This was a major plot point in the book. Victoria misjudged this project, severely damaging her company and giving the protagonist a chance to swoop in. Telling her was my way of repaying the meal ticket of the last 3 years. Victoria's eyes flickered. She didn't believe me. Or rather, she didn't believe a waste she had discarded could have any far-sighted business acumen. Playing mysterious. She scoffed, turning away. "My decisions don't require your commentary." I shrugged. "Whatever." I said my piece. Believe it or not, it's not my money being lost. The tow truck arrived and took away the flashy Porsche. The world was finally quiet. I leisurely finished my food, humming a tune as I walked back to my soon-to-open shop. My phone screen lit up. Lottery results. I clicked it open, checking the ticket in my hand number by number. All matched. I calmly turned off my phone and finished the last sip of beer. $50 million, after the lump sum deduction and taxes, roughly. Well, my retirement fund just got a little thicker. My shop, named the Grill House, officially opened. I slept during the day, opened promptly at 6 p.m., and closed at 2 a.m. No grand business plans, no corporate politics, just the smell of cumin, chili, and beer. I dumped my $10 million severance, plus the massive lottery winnings, straight into the stock market. Following the book's timeline, I precisely bottom-fished a few meme stocks and biotech firms that were about to skyrocket due to mergers. Then I put the whole thing out of my mind. My life became extremely regular. Wake up at 4 p.m., go to the market for the freshest ingredients. Skewer meat at 5 p.m., prep for opening. At night, the small shop was packed with customers from all walks of life. White-collar workers working late, students crying over breakups, middle-aged guys bragging about nothing. I listened to their stories, grilled the meat in my hand, and occasionally clinked glasses with them. This life, full of smoke and fire, made me feel grounded in a way I never had before. Within half a month, my little shop was a hit. Not because of marketing, but purely because of the taste. I had learned to cook in my previous life to relieve stress, and my grilling skills were top tier. Plus, I used real ingredients and fair prices, so more and more regulars returned. Some people even drove 20 miles just to eat here. One night, an unwelcome guest arrived. Victoria's father, Arthur Sterling. He wore a tailored suit, holding a string of prayer beads, exuding authority without anger. He was more domineering and calculating than Victoria. In the book, he had always looked down on me as a live-in son-in-law, and he was the one who orchestrated the divorce. Jack, long time no see. He sat opposite me, 2 bodyguards standing behind him. Mr. Sterling, sorry for the lack of welcome. I handed him a beer. Try one. He waved his hand, his sharp gaze scanning my small shop. I heard you and Victoria split up. Yes, an amicable divorce. I gave you 10 million so you would leave this city and never appear before Victoria again. Why haven't you left? I laughed. Mr. Sterling, the transaction is complete. I took the money and agreed to leave the Sterling house, which I did. As for which city I live in or what kind of life I lead, that wasn't part of our deal, was it? Arthur's face darkened. He hadn't expected the young man who used to be so timid and afraid to breathe in front of him to speak like this now. Young man, don't be too arrogant. He tapped the table. I know you have resentment in your heart, but you and Victoria are from different worlds. Leaving her is good for you, and good for her. I agree. I cracked open a beer for him and pushed it across. That's why I took the money and left. I'm living quite happily now, and I hope you won't disturb me. Arthur stared at me, trying to find a crack in my facade. But he failed. My face showed only calm and a hint of impatience at having my peace disturbed. The West Harbor land. Did you tell Victoria to drop it? I nodded. Why? Like I said, a friendly tip. That's simple. That's simple. Arthur fell silent. Just 3 days ago, the strictest environmental ban was suddenly announced for the West Harbor project area. All construction was halted for investigation. Several real estate companies that had invested heavily saw their stock prices crash, teetering on bankruptcy. But Sterling Corp, because Victoria had forcibly stopped the project at the last minute against the board's pressure, perfectly avoided this disaster. The entire board was shocked. They couldn't understand why the usually steady Victoria would make such a precise, risky judgment call. Only Victoria knew that this judgment came from her ex-husband, whom she had kicked out, a man she considered a waste. How exactly did you know? Arthur stared at me intently. I guessed. I lied without batting an eye. I like reading policy news when I'm bored. Even a blind cat finds a dead mouse sometimes. Even I didn't believe that explanation. Arthur certainly didn't. He looked at me deeply, his eyes full of scrutiny and wariness. Name your price, he said suddenly. Come back to Victoria. Continue being her husband. I'll give you 5% of Sterling Corp's shares. I paused for a second, then laughed. 5% of Sterling Corp was worth at least a few $billion. This old fox never did anything without profit in mind. He saw potential value in me, so he wanted to tie me back to the Sterling family chariot. Too bad my ambitions lay elsewhere. Mr. Sterling, do you know how much the shop makes a night? I asked him. He didn't speak. After costs, about $500 a night. That's 15 grand a month, maybe 200,000 a year. I counted on my fingers. It doesn't compare to your shares, but it's happy money. Easy money. I don't need that much money, just enough to spend. And I don't want to live a life looking at other people's moods anymore. I stood up and walked to the grill, flipping the sizzling meat skewers. So, I appreciate the offer, but keep the shares for your retirement. My small business doesn't need your concern. My voice wasn't loud, but every word reached Arthur's ears clearly. For the first time, his expression turned ugly. He had dominated the business world for half his life. No one had ever refused him so bluntly, and for a reason he couldn't comprehend. He couldn't understand why someone would give up billions for a few $100 a night. You will regret this. He stood up, left that sentence hanging, and walked away with his bodyguards. I watched his retreating back and smiled. Regret. The decision I regret least in my life is leaving your family. Arthur's visit was like a pebble thrown into a lake. It didn't create much of a ripple in my life. I continued grilling, drinking, and watching the diverse customers. The meme stocks in my portfolio had flipped 10 times over. My assets were expanding at a terrifying speed, but I didn't tell anyone. I still wore $20 t-shirts, rode a second-hand electric scooter, and haggled with the old ladies at the market over 10 cents for green onions. One day, a special customer came to the shop. A young man wearing a plaid shirt and black-rimmed glasses. He walked straight up to me. "Excuse me, are you Mr. Jack Miller?" he asked. I nodded. "I'm Leo Finch," he introduced himself, "a reporter for Fortune Code magazine." My heart skipped a beat. It had to happen eventually. My god-tier operations in the stock market, though hidden, had attracted attention. "Nothing to interview here," I said while flipping skewers. "I'm just a grill cook." "Mr. Miller, you're too modest." Leo adjusted his glasses, his eyes gleaming. "According to our investigation, in the past month, using a principal of less than 200 million, you've made over 2 billion in the stock market. You precisely caught the entire rise of East Tech merger, BioRay Pharma, and other supergrowth stocks. Want to know, how did you do it? Is there a professional trading team behind you? His voice wasn't loud, but it was enough for the customers at the nearby tables to hear. Instantly, everyone's eyes focused on me. Their looks were full of shock, curiosity, and disbelief. The boss who grilled their meat with a smile every day was a stock market god worth $2 billion? You've got the wrong guy. I kept a straight face. Mr. Miller, we have solid evidence, Leo insisted. I put down the skewers, wiped my hands, and looked at him. Even if what you say is true, so what? That's my personal privacy. I have no obligation to answer your questions. Now, please leave my shop. You're disturbing my business. My tone was calm, but carried unquestionable firmness. Leo froze. He had interviewed countless billionaires. Some flaunted their wealth, some kept a low profile, but he had never met anyone like me. A billionaire worth $2 billion, running a barbecue joint in a grimy district, kicking someone out because the interview was hurting business. It was illogical. Mr. Miller, your story is legendary. If we publish it, you'll become a god in the eyes of countless investors. Leo tried to argue. I don't want to be a god. I just want to grill meat. I picked up a freshly grilled chicken wing and handed it to him. Try it. It's on the house. Now eat it and get out. Leo was completely out of options. He stared blankly as he took the wing, took a bite, and his eyes instantly lit up. It's good. If it's good, eat more. And remember to pay next time. The surrounding customers laughed. A potential bombshell financial interview was diffused by me in this ridiculous atmosphere. Leo eventually gave up, sitting in the shop all night trying to dig something out of my conversations with customers. But he was disappointed. I talked about the pork belly is great today, or old Joe's dog ran off again. No business, no stocks, just street life. At 2 a.m., I prepared close up. Leo stood up, looking defeated and confused. Mr. Miller, I still don't understand. He looked at me. With your wealth and ability, why are you willing to be a grill chef here? I put the last stool inside and looked back at him. You're not a fish. How would you know the joy of fish? I closed the door, leaving him standing alone in the night wind, confused. I didn't notice that in a black sedan not far away, Victoria was quietly watching everything. Her face held a confusion deeper than the night. Since the West Harbor project, she had been suspicious of me. She used her connections to investigate, and the results terrified her. I hadn't fallen into ruin after leaving her. Instead, in an incredibly short time, I had amassed startling wealth in a way that verged on the miraculous. $2 billion. Even for her, that was not a small number. She couldn't understand. The man who had been by her side for 3 years, mediocre, weak, with nothing to offer but his love for her. How had he suddenly become a master strategist of the stock market? Was it a disguise? He pretended for 3 years. What for? If not for money, then what? Countless questions swirled in her mind, making her doubt herself for the first time. Did she see him wrong? Or rather, did she miss something entirely? The next evening, my grill house opened as usual. But the atmosphere was clearly different. Boss, give me 50 spicy wings. I want to play the stock market too. Give me a boost. Got a stocks. What's the next wealth code? Give us a hint, brother. Customers were joking, half serious. The news of the stock god grilling meat on the street had spread like wildfire in small circles. Many people came out of curiosity, some to taste the legend's cooking, others hoping for insider tips. My little shop had become an internet-famous spot overnight. I was a bit annoyed. I just wanted to coast quietly. Why was it so hard? Don't start with that nonsense, I said while brushing sauce on the meat. There's no stock god here, just luck. If you want to get rich, work hard at your job. Everyone laughed louder. Just then, there was a commotion at the door. Victoria arrived. She wasn't wearing a business suit today, but a casual white maxi dress. She wore no makeup, looking less sharp and more elegant. As soon as she appeared, the noise in the shop stopped. Everyone's gaze was drawn to her. Ignoring everyone, she walked straight up to me. Jack, let's talk. Her voice was a bit raspy, like she hadn't slept well. No time, I said without looking up. Can't you see I'm busy? Victoria's body stiffened. Once upon a time, with just one phone call from her, I would rush to her side no matter what I was doing. Now, I dismissed her with 2 words. The customers looked at me with even more respect, daring to snub the Ice Queen Victoria Sterling. This guy was the real deal. I only need 10 minutes. Victoria's tone softened, even carrying a hint of pleading. This made the onlookers even more excited. I sighed, put down my work, and untied my apron. Follow me. I led her to the small alley behind the shop. It was cluttered with boxes, and the air smelled of damp pavement. Speak. What is it? I leaned against the wall and lit a cigarette. The 2 billion. What's going on? Victoria got straight to the point. Good luck. Bought a few stocks, they went up. I downplayed it. Luck. Victoria laughed self-deprecatingly. Jack, how long are you going to lie to me? Have you been pretending from the very beginning? Pretending what? I countered. Pretending I loved you. Ms. Sterling, 3 years ago, I really did love you. But hearts change, especially after being broken thoroughly. Victoria's face paled. Then why did you suddenly become so capable? Because I realized something. I flicked the ash. Being a simp has no future. Instead of spending time trying to please someone who doesn't love me, I should spend it on making myself comfortable. So this is your true face. A deeply calculating man who can pretend for 3 years for money. Her voice trembled slightly. I laughed. Ms. Sterling, are you confused? First, I never asked you for a cent. You offered that 10 million as severance. Second, the money I made has nothing to do with you. Third, and most importantly, we have no relationship anymore. In what capacity are you questioning me right now? My series of rhetorical questions were like slaps to Victoria's face. She was speechless. Right? What right did she have to question me? An ex-wife. An ex-wife who trampled on her husband's dignity and paid him off to leave. The light in the alley was dim. I couldn't see her expression clearly, but I could feel her trembling. The West Harbor land and these stocks. Can you predict the future? She asked a guess that even she found absurd. I fell silent. I couldn't admit it, but I didn't want to lie anymore. To Victoria, my silence was confirmation. She swayed slightly, leaning against the cold brick wall. This discovery was more earth-shattering to her than me making $2 billion. A man who could predict the future. She had possessed such a person, yet she pushed him away with her own hands. She treated him like trash, a burden, a trouble to be dismissed with cash. The irony was crushing. Why? She whispered. If you have such ability, why did you stay by my side, enduring 3 years of humiliation? Because I loved you. I put out the cigarette, my tone calm as if telling someone else's story. Back then, I thought as long as I was with you, suffering a little was nothing. I thought, one day, you would see my worth. But then I realized I was wrong. You couldn't see it, and you didn't want to. So I got tired. I let go. My words were like a knife, plunging precisely into Victoria's heart. She always thought I wasn't good enough for her. Only now did she realize she had never truly known me. She had mistaken a diamond for a piece of glass. Jack. She looked up, her eyes rimmed red, a plea in her voice. Can we go back to how it was? I looked at her, the woman I once looked up to, the woman who made me feel like dust. Now, she was showing her vulnerability in front of me. If this were a month ago, I might have been ecstatic. But now, my heart was as calm as water. Ms. Sterling. I reverted to the formal title. Do you know? The 4 words I hate most in this life are back to how it was. Broken mirrors don't heal. We can't go back. I turned and walked back to my bustling shop, leaving her alone to weep silently in the dark alley. Victoria's appearance didn't change anything. I kept grilling my meat. She remained the lofty Ice Queen CEO, except now, more luxury cars appeared near my shop. Sometimes Victoria's, sometimes Arthur's. They didn't come in, didn't speak, just parked quietly down the road, engaged in some silent vigil. I couldn't be bothered to care. My life was pushed into the spotlight again by an accidental live stream. A food vlogger named Bella stumbled into the grill house. She was completely conquered by my skills and the taste, screaming in her live stream. Fam, I declare this is the best barbecue I've ever had. Bar none. Look at this boss, handsome and cool, grilling skills like a god. He's practically a male model wasted on charcoal. Her stream had high traffic. Tens of thousands watched her devouring food in my shop. Then, the drama happened. A drunk customer tried to dig for stock tips. After I refused, he got angry and started making a scene. You're just a grill cook, acting like a big shot. So you got lucky with money. What's so great about that? He yelled, about to flip a table. Before I could move, a few burly men from the next table stood up. The leader was a local construction foreman and a regular of mine, Big Mike. Punk, who do you think you're talking to? Big Mike grabbed his shoulder, lifting him like a chicken. Boss Jack ignores you because he has class. You dare cause trouble here. Believe it or not, I'll break your legs. The drunk instantly wilted. This scene was captured perfectly by Bella's camera. The chat exploded. OMG, this boss is so popular. That's a real brother right there. Fighting for the boss. Love it. He has looks, skills, money, and a loyal crew. What a god-tier man. Bella was stunned too. She pointed the camera at me and stammered, Boss, are they All your friends. I smiled and handed Big Mike and his crew a few beers. Just neighbors. Regulars. Neighborhood relations are this wholesome. I am jealous. This boss definitely has charisma. Stun. From today on, I'm a super fan of the boss. This stream made me completely viral. Barbecue stock god, street corner heartthrob, the chef wasted by wealth. All kinds of labels were stuck on me. My shop became the hottest influencer spot in the city. Every afternoon, a long line formed at the door. Scalpers were selling queue numbers for hundreds of dollars. It was annoying. I just wanted to be a slacker, not an influencer. So, I made a decision that shocked everyone. I posted a sign at the door. From today on, limited to 100 skewers per day. First come, first served. Closed when sold out. Note, I do not trade stocks. I do not offer investment advice. Ask and get banned. This blew up the internet even more. Most arrogant boss in history. Rich people are willful. Only selling 100 skewers. Is he retiring early? LMAO, ask and get banned. This boss has too much personality. My grill house became even more popular. Those 100 skewers became the limited edition everyone dreamed of. Victoria came again. This time, she was alone. She didn't drive, but stood in the long line like a regular person. By the time it was her turn, the sky was dark. What can I get you? I asked. The same as yours, she said. I paused, remembering that back in Sterling House, she ate whatever I ate because she was too lazy to order. I silently grilled 10 of my favorite skewers, spicy wings and beef, packed them up, and handed them to her. She took them and paid. Jack, she stopped me. My father's company is in trouble. I didn't speak, waiting for the rest. An overseas hedge fund is maliciously shorting Sterling Corp stock. We can't hold on much longer. Her voice carried a trace of helplessness. I remembered this plot. In the original book, this was the male lead's shining moment. He used his overseas connections and capital to snipe the hedge fund, solidifying his place in Victoria's heart. Now, the male lead had his first pot of gold hijacked by me and hadn't developed yet. And Victoria was casting her plea for help toward me. So, I asked, I hope you can help me. She looked at me, eyes full of hope and anxiety. Why should I help you? I countered. Consider it. For the sake of our past 3 years. Sake. I laughed. Ms. Sterling, our sake hit zero the moment you paid me $10 million to leave. Victoria's face lost all color instantly. Jack, I know I treated you badly before. I apologize. As long as you help me, I'll agree to any condition. Shares of Sterling Corp, however much you want. I don't care about that. I interrupted. I told you, I just want to quietly grill my meat. But, no buts. I looked at her, emphasizing every word. Victoria, that is your battlefield, not mine. I already retired. With that, I stopped looking at her and turned to the next customer. Victoria stood there, holding the bag of warm skewers, like an abandoned statue. After a long time, she silently turned and disappeared into the night. I knew my decision might doom the Sterling family, but I didn't care. I'm not a saint, and definitely not a savior. I'm just an ordinary guy who wants to live his own life. What does the fate of others have to do with me? The crisis at Sterling Corp came faster and harder than I imagined. The news was plastered with reports of Sterling stock crashing and funding chains breaking. The once lofty business empire was teetering on the edge of collapse in the blink of an eye. Arthur Sterling's hair turned white overnight. Victoria ran everywhere, begging for loans, but hit walls at every turn. Business is war. When a wall falls, everyone pushes. No one was willing to help a sinking giant. That night, after closing up, I saw a familiar figure at the shop door. Arthur Sterling. He was no longer the high-spirited tycoon, but a haggard, broken old man. He stood alone under the street lamp, his shadow stretching long. Jack. He saw me, his voice hoarse. Mr. Sterling. I nodded in acknowledgement. Can you have a drink with me? He asked. I hesitated, then nodded. I grabbed 2 beers from the shop and sat with him on the curb. I lost. He took a big swig, his eyes red. A lifetime of effort gone just like that. I stayed silent, offering no comfort. Winner takes all. This was the path he chose. I regret it, he said suddenly, looking at me. My biggest regret is forcing Victoria to separate from you. If I hadn't been so snobbish back then, hadn't looked down on you, would everything be different now? I drank my beer, not answering. Life has no what-ifs. Jack, I didn't come to ask for your help today. He smiled bitterly. The Sterling family falling is my own fault. I just want to ask you one thing, as a father. Speak. Victoria, that child. She's been proud since she was little. This blow is too big for her. I'm afraid she might do something foolish. I hope you can go see her, talk to her. I know I have no right to ask, but right now, you might be the only person she'll listen to. After speaking, this man who once commanded the business world let tears stream down his face. My heart was touched. Although I hated the sterling's snobbery and coldness, the fatherly love Arthur showed right now was real. Where is she? I asked. The rooftop of the company building. She's been there all day. I stood up and finished the rest of the beer. Got it. I hopped on my scooter and rode toward the tallest building in the city center. The night wind was cold, stinging my face. I didn't know why I was meddling in this. Maybe to pay off the last bit of emotional debt. Maybe simply because I didn't want to see a young life wither away. The Sterling Corp building was pitch black. Only the rooftop light was on. I took the elevator up without obstruction. The security guards had likely been notified by Arthur not to stop me. The wind on the roof was strong, making it hard to stand. Victoria stood at the very edge, her white dress flapping violently in the wind, as if she would be blown away at any moment. Her back looked so thin, so fragile. I walked over slowly, stopping a few steps behind her. "Nice view," I said. Her body jolted, and she slowly turned her head. Seeing it was me, a trace of surprise flashed in her eyes, followed by dimness. "What are you doing here?" Her voice was raspy. "Here to see the joke." "Yeah." I walked to her side, mimicking her stance, looking down at the city lights. "Stand high, see far. You can see the joke more clearly from up here." She ignored my teasing, just staring blankly into the distance. "You know, I've stood here since I was a child, looking at this city. I told myself, one day, I would be the queen of this city. Now am I?" She laughed self-deprecatingly. "I'm just a joke." "You're not a queen, and you're not a joke," I said. "You're just an ordinary person who pushed herself too hard." "Ordinary person?" She looked like she heard the biggest joke. "How can I, Victoria Sterling, be an ordinary person? Why can't you?" I countered. "Were you born with 3 heads and 6 arms? Do you not need a fork to eat?" "Victoria, your biggest problem isn't losing this business war. It's that you never treated yourself as a human being. You treated yourself like a machine that sacrifices everything for success. You sacrificed health, happiness, feelings. Now the machine broke, and you think the sky is falling." My words were like a scalpel, precisely cutting open her hard shell, revealing the bleeding core inside. She froze. No one had ever dared to speak to her like this, and no one had ever pointed out her problem so sharply. "Then what should I do?" She looked at me blankly, like a lost child. "Jump and it's over. Or come down and get some barbecue with me." I pointed downstairs. "I haven't had dinner yet. I am starving." She looked at me, her expression complex. Shock, absurdity, and a hint of a faint light being lit. "At a time like this, you're thinking about eating?" "Heaven is big. Earth is big. Eating is the biggest," I said. "You haven't eaten all day, right? If you don't eat, you'll starve to death before you even jump." She let out a short laugh. It was an ugly laugh, worse than crying, but it was a laugh. The heavy atmosphere on the roof was instantly broken. "Let's go." I reached out my hand. "My treat. Consider it. Celebrating your rebirth." She looked at my extended hand, hesitating for a long time. Finally, she placed her cold hand into my palm. I pulled her away from a place where she wanted to end it all. I took Victoria back to my shop. I fired up the grill and took the best ingredients from the fridge. Soon, the aroma of barbecue filled the alley again. Victoria sat across from me, quietly watching me work. She seemed like a different person, stripped of all dominance and coldness, leaving only exhaustion and fragility. "You seem to really like doing this," she said softly. "Yeah." I handed her a grilled chicken wing. "Doing what you love makes you happy." She took the wing and ate it in small bites, tears flowing unconsciously. "I feel like I've never done anything I like." She had been groomed as an heir since childhood, studying management, reading financial reports, meeting business elites. Her life was planned out clearly, without a single deviation. She had never even thought about what she liked. "It's not too late to think about it now," I said. "The company is gone, which is a perfect chance for a long vacation. Think about what kind of life you actually want." "But I don't know how to do anything else," she said blankly. "Except doing business. I don't know what I'm good at." "You know plenty." I looked at her. "You play piano, you paint, your French is better than a local's. Did you forget all that?" I knew all this from the original character's memories. Victoria froze. These useless skills, buried in the corners of her memory, hadn't been mentioned by anyone in a long time. "What use do those have?" "No use, but they make you happy," I said. "Being alive, you have to aim for something. Money, fame, or just happiness." I opened a beer for her. "Taste it. The flavor of the human world." She hesitated, took it, and mimicked me, taking a sip. The sharp liquid slid down her throat, making her cough. But after the coughing, she felt a relaxation she hadn't felt before. That night, we talked a lot. About her childhood, about my past, about forgotten dreams and hobbies. She drank a lot and cried a lot. Finally, she slumped onto the table, drunk, still muttering my name. I looked at her sleeping face and sighed deeply. What mess of fate. The next day, when Victoria woke up, she found herself in a strange bed. The room wasn't big, but it was clean and smelled of sunlight. This was the attic above my shop, where I lived. She walked downstairs and saw me wearing an apron, making breakfast. A bowl of steaming porridge, a plate of golden fried eggs. Simple food, but it gave her a long-lost warmth. Awake? Come eat, I called out. She sat down silently, picked up a spoon, and sipped the porridge. Thank you, she said. Thank me for what? I'm charging you for room and board. I joked. She didn't smile, just looked at me seriously. Jack, I've decided. I want to sell the company. I looked at her with some surprise. You thought it through? Yeah. She nodded. You were right. I pushed myself too hard. Maybe living a different way wouldn't be so bad. So what do you plan to do next? I don't know. She shook her head. Maybe. Go to France for a while. I want to study painting. Sound good, I said sincerely. Letting go of obsession is a relief for her and for everyone. And you? She looked at me. Do you really plan to grill me here forever? What's wrong with it? I smiled. Free and easy, no worries. But with your ability, you could do more, stand higher. Standing high doesn't mean seeing far, but the wind is definitely strong. I finished my porridge. I had enough wind in my last life. In this life, I just want to stay steady in a safe harbor. Victoria fell silent. She knew we were from two different worlds after all. She yearned for the view from the peak, while I was only obsessed with the warmth of the street level. After breakfast, she left. No extra words, just a deep look at me. I knew that the story between us had truly drawn a period here. A few days later, news came. Sterling Corp was acquired by a foreign firm. The Sterling family took a heavy loss, but retained some assets, avoiding total bankruptcy. Victoria resigned from all positions and completely vanished from the public eye. Rumor had it she went to France alone. My life finally returned to peace. The grill business was still booming, but I stuck to my principles, 100 skewers a day, enjoying the leisure. In my free time, I went fishing, walked in the park, or just slept in the attic. My assets in the stock market were snowballing. I had become one of the wealthiest people in the world, but nobody knew except me. I was still Boss Jack grilling meat on the snack street. These days were good. 1 year later, my grill house had become a landmark on the street. Countless people came just to taste the legendary Stock God's barbecue. And I was still the lazy boss whose greatest joy was shooting the breeze with the neighbors. That day, an unexpected guest arrived. Leo Finch, the reporter from Fortune Code. He looked much more mature than a year ago, but the light in his eyes hadn't changed. Mr. Miller, long time no see. He sat in front of me. Why are you here again? I said grumpily. I told you, no interviews. I'm not here to interview you. He smiled and slid a magazine across the table. The latest issue of Fortune Code. The cover figure was an Asian woman in a white dress, painting by the Seine. Her face wore a quiet, warm smile, beautiful as a painting. It was Victoria. The headline, From Business Queen to Soul Painter, Victoria Sterling's Road to Rebirth. I picked up the magazine and flipped through it. The report said Victoria held a solo exhibition in France, causing a huge sensation. Her paintings were full of vitality and love for life, hailed as works that heal the heart. She was no longer the cold business queen, but an artist who found herself. She is doing well, I said softly. Yes, Leo sighed emotionally. She said she is very grateful to one person. It was that person who made her understand the true meaning of life. I knew who she meant, but I didn't respond. Mr. Miller, our magazine wants to do an exclusive with you, talking about your lying flat philosophy. Leo still wouldn't give up. You are an idol to countless young people now. Everyone wants to know how you found the perfect balance between pursuing wealth and enjoying life. There's no philosophy. I handed the magazine back. I just figured it out, that's all. Life is short. Enjoy it while you can. Leo wanted to say more, but was silenced by my glare. He walked away resentfully. I looked at Victoria's bright smile on the magazine cover, genuinely happy for her. We both found our own lives. This was good. Another ordinary night. I was getting ready to close when a girl carrying a sketchbook walked into the shop. Boss, anything left to eat? Her voice was crisp as a lark. Sorry, sold out for today? I said. The girl's face fell instantly, looking pitiful. I came all the way from the west side just for a bite of your skewers. I queued all afternoon, but that guy in front ordered 20 skewers. I looked at her pouting face and wanted to laugh. All right, lucky you. There are some ingredients left. I'll make you a few. Really? That's awesome. Boss, you're such a good person. The girl instantly beamed. I grilled 10 skewers for her. She sat opposite me, eating and chatting. Her name was Sunny, an art student and a micro-influencer food blogger. Cheerful, lively like a little son. Boss, you're so handsome and cook so well. Why did you open a grill place? She asked curiously. Passion, I answered casually. Then you must make a lot of money, right? It's okay barely scraping by. Boss, you liar. She pointed at a Bugatti Veyron parked not far away. That car is yours, right? I saw you get out of it this afternoon. Me. Sloppy. I went fishing today and took the wrong car. Cough. Borrowed it from friend. I kept a straight face. Oh, Sunny dragged out the sound, with a face that said, I believe you, my ass. She finished the skewers, wiping her mouth unsatisfied. Boss, with your skills, not going for a Michelin star is a waste of talent. Not interested. Boss, are you single? She suddenly leaned in, her big eyes sparkling at me. I froze. This question was out of the syllabus. Before I could answer, a cool, trembling voice came from the alley entrance. Jack. I turned around and saw a familiar, yet somewhat unfamiliar figure. Victoria. She was back. She stood there, wearing the same white dress from a year ago, holding a suitcase. Her gaze crossed the lively alley, crossed the curious Sunny, and fell straight on me. In her eyes, there were complex emotions I couldn't read. Sunny looked at her, then at me, sniffing the scent of gossip. Boss, who's she? Before I could answer, Victoria had already stepped forward, walking toward me. Every step she took felt like she was stepping on my heart. Finally, she stopped in front of me. I'm back, she said. Welcome back. I nodded, my tone calm. Can I order some skewers? She asked, a trace of cautious hope in her voice. I looked at her, then at the curious Sunny beside me. One was the returning white moonlight. One was the little sun, who had just barged into my life. I suddenly felt that my peaceful life of coasting was about to get windy. Story complete.